Not a whole lot, but I'm glad to be here. Man, we had a lot of stuff to go on this week. The weather's been good. I mean, sometimes we talk about the weather a lot on this show, so I don't want to bring back old habits, but weather's been good. People have been out playing, and we got lots of stuff to go over in East Idaho tonight on this nice little prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, dude, we're 2 weeks in now. We finished week 1 of sports. Almost every school has played something, whether it was from football to soccer to volleyball, cross country, golf. So let's get right into it. We had some really nice performances. Of course, remember, we try to do player of the week, we try to do a team of the week, and then we'll kind of recap some of the biggest games from the past week, and then we'll go into what's coming up, and we'll close the show. So Sean, like I said, I spoiled it a little bit. We had some great performances this past week, players and teams. It was a hard one. We almost went there for a little bit, but we finally settled on one player of the week, and it's going to come from boys soccer. All right. One of the teams that we're following, Sean, closely, it was one of the teams that we kind of teased, and I think it was episode 2 that you mentioned you were interested in following. This is Century Boys Soccer. Sean, who is our player of the week from that team?
Peja Weed, and he also plays basketball, and I'm the PA announcer for the basketball scene at Century, so I really wanted to kind of go in my 1996 Chicago Bulls voice for it, but I won't. Peja Weed is going to be our player of the week. The first opening soccer game that last Saturday, Century went to Burley, played a tight game. Basically it's 1-1 with seconds remaining, and Peja Weed hits a game-winning goal, and he follows it up with a game-winning goal yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday evening, the 28th, but on Tuesday, yesterday, against Madison, he also hit the game winning goal, the only goal in that game against a higher classification opponent. But yeah, Peja Weed, I got to sit down with Jamshi Rumiani, who's the head coach of Century. He was also my math teacher in junior high. So it's always really funny. And, I was bad at math. We're not, he beats me in the math department, but I beat him in the state championship department. So I always give him a hard time, but I got to sit down and talk to him. And he just is overjoyed with the performance from Peja Weed. He's just been great. He sees the game very well. I got to go out and watch a little bit of the game today. Their Century's playing Skyline, and I just got to see the first 20 minutes or so. And he's good. No, he missed it by like maybe this much. He broke away front on the goal, got a little angle and just barely missed it. So he almost got one. Why I was there. But yeah, Jamshi Rumiani, the coach of Century, he's been coaching soccer for 35 years in one form or another. He's basically been at Century since it's opened its doors in 2000. So yeah, he's kind of I guess a coaching legend. I don't want to give him too much credit if he's watching, but he's a good guy, but he spoke very highly of him. And yeah, Peja Weed, starting off the season very, very good. 2 goals in 2 games, and who knows what the results will be tonight. I might get those live as we're here, so stay tuned.
Sounds good. Hey, and we also, Sean, we have a clip, don't we, from that game-winning goal? Let's play that clip right now. Peja Weed, that clip right now. Peja Weed game-winning goal. 15 seconds to go in the game. Let's see it now. Money.
Yeah, just off the rebound there. And that's what Coach Rumiani talked about, is his sight to see where the ball's going to go. That second bounce, that third bounce, it was just crucial in soccer. And Peja Weed found the right bounce per se right there and hit the goal. But pretty cool to have a nice little clip there of that game winner versus Burley last Saturday.
Yeah, so thanks to those who sent that clip in. Hey, if you have a great clip, if you want to nominate a player, a team, and you have a clip to kind of show this is why they were so good this week, send us those clips. You got our names down here at Sean Kane 182. That's Sean's Twitter/X account. Mine is at E1 Educador. That's my Twitter/X account. So send us those clips so we can shout out your player, your team. Yeah, Sean, you mentioned that goal was. It's hard to hit. It's hard to get that connection off those bouncing balls. I'm guessing that grass probably wasn't, super spongy. It's probably a bit more of a rocky turf. And so when they hit those volleys, they're called in soccer, you got to be precise or that ball will take off on you or sky it. So really impressive shot there from Peja Wood. So congrats to Peja Wood.
Yeah.
Peja Weed, excuse me.
Yeah. Weed. Yeah. And I have to give you were saying the shout out to the person who gave us the clip is Daniel McGee. He's a senior sweeper for the team, and they have a system that records all the games so they can go back and look. And being that he's also my tennis player, I forced him into getting that clip.
Perfect.
And maybe he'll make the team in the spring.
That's right. You give us clips, we will get you on the team. No problem. we are the mafia here at the East Idaho Prepcast. The East Idaho Mafia. That's what we are. All right. I think that's the name of our show, Sean.
East Idaho Mafia. When you go through a table next week, Joel, that's what we'll be excited for.
Exactly. Okay. So yeah, congrats, Peja Weed, on being our East Idaho Prepcast Player of the Week. Let's get into the Team of the Week, Sean. We're going to go to volleyball. And this was a really close one because we had some football teams that just dominated this week. But we wanted to give a shout out to the Pokey Girls volleyball team for our Team of the Week. Pokey Girls had a really strong weekend, Sean, at the Peg Peterson Tournament. After the opening week of play, or the opening Friday of play, everyone was placed into brackets. And Pokey ended up in ranked 3. We also had Highland, South Fremont. We'll get into that later, the other East Idaho teams. So we'll keep celebrating Pokey specifically right now. But anyway, they end up in the gold bracket, ranked 3rd. Sean, they bested Century. They bested Highland. They lost to Centennial 0-2, but then they went back and beat Highland again because it was that double elimination, right? And then they ended up losing to Centennial. Really good volleyball team, 6A, 2-1. So they did get a win there. They got it to 1-1, then Centennial finished it off. But Pokey ended up placing 2nd out of 28 teams, and they were the only 5A team left in the top 4 of that gold bracket. So good job for the Pokey girls.
Yeah, definitely. And if you listen to the East Idaho Prepcast, you're gonna know these names. A lot of these girls return. They're also, a lot of them are basketball players too, and they've just got a really good set of girls that are coming back. So this volleyball team, not making it to state in 20 years, coming back with the 3rd place trophy last year, starting off just on the right foot and looking to do more damage as the season goes on. And just a great job by Paige Leatham. She has been the forefront of this program right now for a few years, and you've kind of filled this revamp, right, of volleyball at Pocatello, where Century was really pretty dominant when Paulie Thanos, the AD of ISU, was the coach. They won 6 years in a row, state, and 3-team conference with Pokey, Preston. It's hard to make it to state, and now Pocatello's got a good run, and just a wealth of experience with those girls coming back this year.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to Paige Latham. She's in her 2nd year, like you mentioned. She and her assistant head coach Holly Jensen, they needed to change the culture, and they wanted to get the team to be hardworking. Most kids are just going to work hard because they want to win, but it can be hard to really kind of get that next step. And as you know, Sean, as a tennis coach, you can get kids to work hard, but then take that next step in their progression. And then finally, she said, get them to believe that they could get to state, for the first time in 20 years. They could get to the championship game at the Peg Peterson tournament. That belief matters a lot. So yeah, like you said, first state appearance in 30 years. That was in her first year, Paige Latham's first year as the head coach. You also mentioned, she mentioned some of her top players that just played really well at that tournament. Like you said, players we've heard before from the basketball team: junior Abby Lusk, libero Adri Johnson, Jacoby Nebaker. She's that transfer from Declo. She had 12 aces, 61 kills, 5 blocks, 44 digs for those keeping track at home. So she had a nice tournament. And got to shout out the libero. She had 82 digs. That is not normal in high school volleyball. So anyway, a couple of great top performers from the Pokey Girls volleyball team, and congratulations to them for their East Idaho Prepcast Team of the Week. Let's move on, Sean. Let's recap some of the biggest games this week. We had We had Sugar playing Preston last weekend. They won 9-0. Sorry, this is boys soccer. Sugar beat Preston 9-0 in boys soccer. And then one of our games the week that we were watching, Idaho Falls boys soccer, they went to Canyon Ridge and played them last weekend. Talked to head coach Ryan Cook. He was really looking forward to that game. IF ends up tying Canyon Ridge. Big deal, as IF is trying to get some of that momentum going into their next few games. Ryan Cook mentioned long season, so he was really looking forward to this game and seeing how they would match up with a really good Canyon Ridge team. Ended up tying the game 0-0. Any thoughts on those games, Sean?
I was just gonna, Sugar, Scott Terry, the head coach of both boys and girls, and a tennis coach. Last year they won the boys and then played the girls and won, or maybe it's vice versa. I can't remember. Anyways, won 2 championships one day. Great coach. No surprises with some of those scores, just because those Sugar teams come back strong. They're well coached. Scott's a great guy, and he's a culture changer kind of coach too. Really gets his players to believe. So no surprises there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, right, Sugar girls soccer, going to girls soccer, some of the biggest games from last week. Girls soccer also blanked Preston 6-0. So Sugar 6-0 over Preston. And then the next day on Saturday, they went to Sun Valley Community School, and they were actually on one of our prepcasts during the summer. We had the AD, I believe it was, or maybe it is the director of that Sun Valley Community School, like a superintendent. Anyway, he went on, really great guy, really great program. But Sugar, they don't care how great of a program you are, or how great of a guy you are. They're going to come and compete, and they're usually going to beat you. And that's exactly what Sugar Salem girls soccer did. 11-1. Sun Valley got 1 goal on them out of the 11 that Sugar Salem got. And then the final game that we were kind of watching, kind of a game of the week for girls soccer, was Pokey Girls. They were playing Timberline, another big 6A team out in Boise. Pokey Girls lost that game, Sean, 1-5. The next day they went to Mountain View. I believe that was on a Saturday. They lost 1-2 in that game. But then last night, Sean, we talked about this a little bit. Pokey Girls turned it around, and they got the W 10-2 over Madison.
Yeah, way to rebound, kind of a flip-flop, right? And we kind of talked about this. So we think all the Madison girls are playing volleyball because that team is tough. But yeah, good job. I mean, Timberline is a premier team. They're going to do really well. I think, you're not surprised by that loss. They still got a goal. Mountain View, always good too, but a good win over Madison. Really starting off strong for the Pocatello Thunder girls. Tough teams. The SIC girls soccer is just bananas tough, day in and day out. So a good way to start for their season. And yeah, and then just one other thing, it's probably pretty nice for Sugar to beat Sun Valley Community School, because the community school in soccer has won just so many state championships in boys and girls soccer and tennis. But yeah, I mean, that's got to feel good for Sugar, kind of flipping the script, right? It's always been community school in that driver's seat, and now Sugar Salem soccer girls kind of taking the driver's seat away.
Yeah, so congrats to Coach Terry, his girls and boys, as they did a really good job this weekend. And then Pokey Girls overcoming the 0-2 start and getting that dub over Madison. Sean, let's get into football. Had a really fun weekend. It was a light weekend. Not every team was playing. I guess most teams weren't playing, but there were a few games. And Sean, we were at one of those. Spoiler alert, Grace Oakley. But before that, how do we do on our picks? Let's go over our picks. We had 2 games, Sean, that we were really looking at. Butte County, Logos, and Grace versus Oakley. Sean, we both went with East Idaho, and we chose Grace to win, and we chose Butte County to win. Both those teams coming away with wins. Butte County 36 over Logos 24. That was at Homedale. And then Grace just shellacking over Oakley 50-8 at Grace at home, opening week for both those teams. Made us look good. We went 2-2 on our opening picks.
Yeah, I mean, the Butte County Logos game that's a tough game. I mean, I think that's closer than I would originally kind of thought in my mind, but good for Butte County coming back, this year, strong start. And then for the Grace Oakley game that we were at, me and Joel broadcasted that game, and it was kind of the two different tales, right? You had Grace, who's bringing back the team that was young last year. You have Oakley basically replacing as their older classmen have went off to better fields. And it showed that Grace team was a very cohesive unit that had played for a long time and knew what they were doing. And I think Oakley has a tough schedule, right? Oakley's going to go play Kendrick next. Oakley's it's going to take some lumps and bruises, but they still have some really good players too. But I was very impressed with this Grace team, and I think they're going to have a great season. And who was the leader of that team was Gavin Draper with the 4 TD passes and just kind of doing everything. They did everything very well, offense and defense. I mean, the score, tells you part of the story, but to be there and see this team play defense, you're not going to see all of that in the stats, and they did everything very well.
Yeah, and you mentioned on the broadcast that we didn't quite highlight until you started mentioning it was that defense. We talked, Gavin Draper was our IdahoSports.com player of the game, 4 touchdowns. We actually gave him 5, but one of them was actually Oakley's touchdown. Sorry about that. 4 throwing touchdowns, still really impressive. But then, Sean, during the broadcast, you started talking about how really impressive their defense was. I mean, Oakley, they hardly could get anything going. Their star tight end, he broke free Dallin Hardy for a touchdown, and then Braden Kimball runs him down and strips the ball. As I watched the replay, he really did strip that ball as he tackled him. A really nice just arm tackle right into the ball, or I guess knocked it free with his arm on the tackle. Anyway, top to bottom, really great defense from Grace, even though we highlighted so much offense.
Yeah, they just in 8-man football, the way Grace played defense, they gave them so many different looks, filled the holes, didn't leave a lot of gaps. Oakley tried to get outside, it just wasn't happening. I talked a little bit about maybe Oakley should try a little more up the middle, but there wasn't any open field. Grace made the football field very small for Grace. Grace made the football field very small for Oakley in a bad way.
Yeah. And one of the questions on the 8-man Prepcast that IdahoSports.com does every week, I believe on Thursday nights, they mentioned, hey, Grace's O-line, they lost a lot of guys. Sean, no problem last Friday. They were running everywhere, including up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a testament to coaching a younger offensive line, but also Gavin Draper. If there was any sort of pressure, he could roll out either side, make something happen. And you could tell that in the play design, Grace wasn't making it so Gavin Draper had to sit there and go through 5 checks. It was kind of like 1 and then 2. And it's kind of how I felt. And he was very good at the 2.
Yeah,
very
definitely.
Good.
Yeah, he did a good job rolling out his arm. His throwing motion looks really smooth, crisp ball. Just a really, really fun game to broadcast. And we already kind of talked about Butte County Logos a little bit, but Butte County Razor Duke and Ross and Twitchell, Sean, combined for 5 touchdowns. And Butte County, like you said, it was a little bit closer than you thought. Butte County, the Pirates were down 10 at half, but they ended up doing what Butte County does. They came back. They used that Razor Duke, Ross and Twitchell experience that they already have, and Sam Thorngren, their head coach, got them to a victory, 36-24. So impressive game by Butte County, and also the 8-man Prepcast. Some of them were kind of wondering maybe Logos takes this, but in the end, Butte County did get it. Let's go to Coeur d'Alene Rigby. Rigby ended up losing that game, Sean, 14-24. Coeur d'Alene just was everywhere. Talk about defense. The Vikes defense was unreal. The Rigby Trojans only had 1 first down in their first 2 drives. And then their junior quarterback, Jake Flowers, Sean, he threw 3 picks. The Vikings were unreal on defense.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go away and you throw 3 picks against a team like Coeur d'Alene, it's going to make your day very difficult, and which it was. And it still got kind of close, Coeur d'Alene winning 24-14 over Rigby. It's mentioned before too, that Rigby's went up to Coeur d'Alene, loss, but then end up playing Coeur d'Alene in the championship later a couple of years ago and winning.
Right.
So Rigby's taken it as a big time motivation. But North Idaho prepcaster Ryan Skaggs, me and him talk, and he was saying, yeah, Coeur d'Alene's going to have a hard time, but man, their defense is solid, and they went out there, and he was right. I just, it was hard for me to say that Ryan was right, but he was right. That defensive was impressive when you get 3 picks like that. So, good job for Coeur d'Alene. They're going to have, Coeur d'Alene and Rigby are going to have some fantastic matches. We'll get into that later this weekend, but good game to start off for both teams. I don't know if the first game's, writes your story. It's kind of, it starts the story and how you do your, middle and your ending, and then your final conflict, final answer is what really matters. So it'll be interesting to see how Rigby rebounds.
Yeah, I tell some of my employees and my boys, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? If you finish strong, then that's what everyone remembers. That's really what matters. But like you say, it's hard to come back from those 3 picks. Also, the Vikings were unreal on offense, and Rigby couldn't do much. The fact that they scored on that muff field goal snap, that was insane. And then they scored in every quarter. And then those passing yards, 265 to 184. The one bright spot, I think, for Rigby was, like you said, Sean, they still only lost by 10. So you take back maybe one of those interceptions, that changes the ball game. And then the junior running back who came from Skyline, Amani Morrell, he had 75 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. So like you said, maybe a rough start, but it's how you finish. So very interested to see how both these teams progress as the season goes on. Let's move on to other W's, and let's break down a little bit of those other big W's. Obviously, we don't have, all the time in the world to go over every team. We'd love to, but there's just 2 of us. So other teams that won this weekend from East Idaho, Sean: Sugar Salem football. We're talking football. Highland, Firth, Madison, Shelley, American Falls, South Fremont, and Declo. Highland went 21-13 over Legacy, Nevada at Legacy after graduating 32 seniors. That's got to be an impressive win, Sean.
Yeah, I think that's it's kind of a, Highland Ram thing. They lose a bunch of guys, they come back the next year, they're still really good.
Coaching and culture.
Nick Sorrell is a great coach. I mean, he's only been the head coach for 3 years now, I believe, and but he was with the Rams for, I can't remember how many years, but forever. Most of those coaches have been there forever. They run a great, just fantastic program. It shows, and it helps to get a quarterback, right? Keegan Belknap transferred from Marsh Valley, and everyone has a big hopes for him. From what I hear from other coaches, is he's legit. He's the real deal. He's picking up the offense really well, and Highland kind of has a complicated offense. I'm not the stats, the biggest football knowledge guy, but it's kind of complicated, and most of the Highland players, have done it for years, right? They're coming up through the program. Right. He's transferred in, but he's real smart. He's picking up really quick. So he's kind of the trigger to that gun right now, and it's shooting pretty good.
Yeah. And what a I guess blessing, luck, whatever you want to call it, that junior quarterback Keaton Belknap transferred in from Marsh Valley, because I don't know who they were going to play there at quarterback. Obviously someone, because you got culture and coaching like we've talked about, but a really nice gift there that Keaton Belknap transferred in. Really want to talk, though, really fast, how they were down 13-7, Sean, in the 4th quarter. Highland was. Then the senior, for those who didn't see it, the senior wide receiver, Jet Richards, he had 24-yard rushing touchdown. The 2-point was good. That puts them up. Anyway, the D gets to stop. Math is not our strong suit here at the East Idaho Prepcast. Then Highland scores on 4th and 6 on a 38-yard pass from Belknap. Extra point is blocked, but that ends up being the game. Highland wins 21-13. So they're down 13-7, and they score, 3 touchdowns without the extra point because they got that 2-point conversion earlier to score. I just got to say, that junior QB Keaton Belknap, the transfer, you got to have ice in your veins to do what he did to get the 38-yard pass to go on 4th and 6 when you're already down.
Yeah, and this is what I did broadcast a lot of Highland games last year, saw a lot of Highland, and this is kind of what I saw from Highland last year. They'd play maybe the first half really well, in the second half not so well, or they play not so well in the first half, play outstanding in the second half. So they never, for a lot of games, it was just kind of that mixed bag until that state championship game where they played 4 quarters phenomenally. Yeah. I don't think anyone can argue that, but kind of throughout the season, they would have a really good half and then not bad, but not as good as the first, and the game would be a little closer, but they'd still win. But, I think as time goes on, if Highland can get 4 full quarters out of all those players, they're just going to be super tough, out of anyone in the state.
Yeah. Now looking forward to seeing what more Highland can, what more they do as the season progresses. So congrats to Highland winning on the road, first game of the season. That's, I don't know, it's really tough after losing all those seniors, and they got the victory. So good job, Highland Rams. Madison Bonneville, 41-6 over Bonneville. QB Hazen Torgerson, Sean, had 138 yards passing, 63 yards rushing, which equals the 200 total yards. Insane. Bonneville kind of struggling, but 6-8 Madison, they've been moving for a couple of years. We keep saying they're about a year or two away. I don't know if they have enough to beat Rigby, to beat Highland, but they're definitely knocking on that door.
Yeah, it's a team if their coach is in his 4th year. He's worked with these guys for 4 years now. The ones that started when he started, the things start to get a little, the stew becomes less simmering and more boiling, right? And that's kind of the direction you're going. Tough division, that 6A division in the East is going to be tough. Right. You just got tough teams, but who knows? You could always maybe sneak in a playoff spot, just depending on how it goes. So yeah, good job by Madison.
Yeah. And then 4A American Falls, they played 3A Soda Springs. That Soda Springs team has that dual coaching, the co-coaches. American Falls, Sean, won their first season opener in 12 years. They were only up 12-0 at half. They had blanked Soda Springs, but only up 12. And then the second half, the B-Day boy, Zach Grigg, he exploded, ending with 135 yards and 1 touchdown. Happy birthday to Zach Grigg, and good job to American Falls for winning that season opener for the first time in 12 years. And then Sugar played, 4A Sugar played Timberlake 65-0. They blanked Timberlake at that neutral site in Anaconda, Montana. QB Jack Gardner going 8 for 10, 173 yards, 4 touchdowns to Sean. This isn't going to surprise you, 4 separate receivers.
Yep, Sugar Salem. All right, next.
Next. Yeah. They also, their defense held Timberlake to 64 yards and 4 first downs. So insane from Sugar. No doubt they're the favorite to win it all and 4A again. And then Firth is also knocking on that door in that 3A. 3A is going to be tough. You got Declo and Westside, but Firth beat New Plymouth 45-0. Another shutout from an East Idaho team. QB Darrell Vasquez, Sean, 211 yards, and he was involved in 6 touchdowns, both throwing and rushing. He threw 4, ran 2, and he also returned a fumble for 99 yards. And then he threw a 99-yard touchdown out of his own end zone.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a Vasquez from Firth since I've started broadcasting for Idaho Sports, so like 5 years. I know This isn't the same one, right? But yeah, one time there were some cousins that we thought they were brothers, but there's been a Vasquez QB at Firth for a number of years, and so continue to do good things. And big game coming up this week as they take on Westside, and those have been some instant classics in the past, so that'll be a very fun one.
Yeah, can't wait to see that one. And then finally, we mentioned Declo. Declo ends up beating Teton 26-14. Close game. It was at Teton, which is probably why it was a little bit closer. Declo is 3A, Teton's 4A, but it was a nice test for both those, as Declo is going to be a favorite. Teton's going to try to push Sugar Salem. But pretty cool for Declo's first-year head coach, Rhett Jones, right, Sean? He was the offensive line coach before. Declo's coach moves on. He goes to Blackfoot. Rhett Jones comes in, fills in, and gets the first win of his career as a head coach.
Yeah, that's what a great experience. And I think Teton will bounce back. They're a tough program as well. But again, a good game to start off the season with.
Yeah, no doubt. And there was actually a cool story, and we'll finish football, our football recap with this story. So Declo was on their way. Coach calls them. the Declo players are in their bus. They're driving to Teton, to Driggs, and coach is ahead of them. And there was a bunch of down power lines, wind or whatever. Not sure what had happened. So they detoured. Well, the road they detoured on had a fallen tree that was blocking traffic for both ways. No one could move. So the physical therapist of Declo challenged the boys, said, if you guys can all move this tree, I'll make you dinner. So the boys all got off the bus one at a time, positioned themselves strategically. They picked up that tree, apparently, moved it off the road all together. They moved it, and game started at 7:15, almost no delay. Pretty cool from Declo.
I mean, hey, I guess sometimes you got to do a little team bonding, to get it together. And what a better way than moving a tree? If that's not East Idaho, I don't know what is.
Right? All right. East Idaho with the power. All right, let's quickly recap, Sean. Let's go back to volleyball. We talked about Pokey girls volleyball, but just Peg Peterson in general. It was at the MEC, the Mountain Events Center this past weekend at Friday, Saturday. Highland was hosting it, and the East Idaho teams, a lot of them were participating. I already mentioned some of them that were in that gold bracket. They did, Friday was kind of that pool play. And then based on that, they were bracketed in a gold, silver, and bronze. East Idaho teams, a lot of them made that gold bracket, Sean. Again, this is top 10. Number 2, Highland. Number 3, Pokey. Number 4, South Fremont. Number 5, Rigby. Number 6, Century. Number 7, Skyline. And number 10, IF. Some of those teams played each other. Some of them didn't. There was a double elimination. And eventually Pokey defeated all of them or some of them to get to that championship game. So congrats to all those teams in that gold bracket.
Yeah. That's just a nice showing from all the different classifications in East Idaho. A great job, and then the teams that didn't make it to the gold bracket, you had Shelley taking second in the silver over Fruitland. Shelley always very tough as well in that District 6 conference is always just a battle day in and day out. So Shelley's starting off the season because look, in the gold bracket, you had Skyline and Idaho Falls, which is in that District 6 conference as well. And then you had Shelley right there ending. If you're playing at the end of the tournament, that means you're doing something right.
Totally. And I just saw that, was it Kimberly, I believe? Anyway, there was a team in that bronze bracket, a team from the Magic Valley area. They just beat Highland Volleyball. I believe it was Highland Volleyball. Anyway, I was looking at my Instagram before the show to see if we could catch anything else, but there was a team in that bronze that beat a team from the gold from East Idaho. So, man, you never know. Idaho is just so tough, not just in East Idaho, but in Idaho in general. So congrats to those East Idaho teams that participated in Peg Peterson, got to that gold, got to those silver brackets, and performed well there. Looking forward to more volleyball action as the week goes on. And if you want more kind of insight into volleyball, go to IdahoSports.com. We got some great articles up from our volleyball expert here in Idaho. She does a great job highlighting all the teams, giving previews for a lot of those teams, and breaking down some of the biggest matchups. So go to IdahoSports.com for more of that volleyball coverage. We also, Sean, had the CUNA Classic out there, and one of our East Idaho teams participated, 1A, previously 1A D2, now 1A, as all the classifications have changed. Grace Lutheran, Sean, with their 8 players total, went out there and performed really well.
Well, I mean, man, what an upgrade. They had 7 last year. Jeremy Hess, I don't know what he's doing over there, but they got 8 now. We're going to have to check with the IHSA and see if everything's legit with 8. But no, just doing a great job. And when you only have that many players, it's just mind-boggling to me. But how many play in volleyball? 6, right?
Right, 6.
Right, 6. So, you're literally 1 injury, 2 injuries away from almost not being able to compete. So good job for Grace to just year in and year out just have, not the numbers, but the talent.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, they did a good job. We won't go over all the scores from Friday and Saturday for Grace Lutheran, but a couple of highlights, a couple of those to mention. They played the CUNA JV. They beat them 2-0, Sean. They played Emmett, beat them 2-0. Played Bishop Kelly, defeated them 2-0. Ambrose tied them 1-1. They lost to Coeur d'Alene 0-2. So really good showing from Grace Lutheran and their 8 players. Just a pleasure to follow that team. I'm looking forward to more from them. All right, Sean, do we miss anyone from our recap?
No, I think we've got it all.
All right, sweet. Obviously, there were more, but again, there's just 2 of us. We'd love to cover it all, but trying to cover, again, the best, the biggest stories from East Idaho week in and week out. But if you want someone to be highlighted, an individual performance or a team, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. Send us a direct, what is that called? Direct message on Twitter, and we'll try to highlight them. As we're just 2 guys trying to do our best to cover as much as we can. All right, what's coming up, Sean? Let's close out with this. So what we're going to do, a lot of games for football, soccer, etc. We're just going to look at football this week. There are a number of games. Each of us is going to pick one game that we think is the most interesting, and then we both have to pick a winner for both our game and the other's game. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Claro como la leche, as we say.
Now, you're not broadcasting this weekend, so I feel this is a little unfair. But
right, this is perfect.
I'll give you. Yeah, okay.
I'm going on vacation. I'm going to drop all the hot takes and bail. Yeah. So I've chosen. Obviously we couldn't choose all the games, but I've chosen a couple games that I thought were most interesting. We got Aberdeen versus American Falls, the rivalry game. We got Hillcrest Madison, Newark Hillcrest. No one's seen them play yet. We got Bear Lake North Fremont. That's going to be East Idaho game night. We got Westside Firth. Sean, you already teased that one. Valley Butte County, great 2A powerhouses. A rematch from the 2023 state quarterfinals. Rockland versus Camas County. And then Century versus Burley. That's going to be Gate City game night that, Sean, you're going to be at. Okay. Out of all of those games, Sean, Sean, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first. Let me see.
All right.
I need you to example. I'm a teacher. Right. I need some concrete examples, and then I will, do some visible learning.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to choose. Oh man, this is tough. I really wanted, you know what? I really wanted to do some 8-man football. I did not know 8-man football existed until I moved to Idaho. I'm not going to lie. But ever since I've broadcasted and started following it, I love 8-man football. But I'm going to let the guys on Thursday cover Valley Butte County, Rockland, Camas, unless you want to, Sean.
No.
And I'm going to go up and do Aberdeen, American Falls. It's not going to be broadcast on IdahoSports.com, but I think that is a very intriguing game. I already mentioned, Sean, it's a rivalry game. Aberdeen's got their first-year head coach, Derek Jolly. He was 18 years as an assistant before becoming a head coach. Aberdeen's number 4 in the media poll. You got the junior quarterback Lupe Ortiz, who won Offensive Player of the Year last year. Aberdeen hasn't played a game yet. American Falls already played. They beat Soda Springs. And then on the other side, you got American Falls. Tim Hoppy, this is his 3rd season as the head coach. They got 1 vote in the media poll. And the American Falls Beavers, Sean, they haven't beat Aberdeen in a head-to-head since 2012. They won 16-13. It's been 12 years, Sean. So this is the game I'm interested in. I think American Falls is going to win. I'm taking American Falls. First time in 12 years. You heard it here first.
Winning their season opener, they hadn't done that in a number of years. American Falls they've kind of had a lot of turnover in the numbers. I'm gonna go the opposite of you. I'm gonna go Aberdeen just because.
Okay.
I broadcasted Aberdeen Firth last year in the playoffs, and I got to see Ortiz firsthand.
He's so good,
and he wasn't even supposed to be the running back. The coach's son Driscoll got hurt and wasn't able to play, and he filled in. And he's listed as a quarterback, but let me tell you, he's a running back and quarterback. I'm going to go Aberdeen and Ortiz for the win.
Okay. All right. I got it written down. I took American Falls. You took Aberdeen. All right, Sean, which game is your pick for most interesting game this weekend?
Oh man. It's funny that these are the games listed, but anyways, I'm gonna go with West Side Firth. Um,
Cool.
looking at the games coming up this week, this is one that just stuck out to me big time. You've got West Side, who does West Side things down in Dayton, Idaho. Um, they're always good. They just always have a boat full of pirates ready to do battle. And then Firth, it was just a few years ago. It was, you didn't know if it was going to, be Firth or West Side in the championship game. They're always competing or playing in the playoffs. Firth went down a little bit. I think they're kind of back on the rise here, but I am going to go West Side Pirates.
All right. I got you down for West Side. Oh man, Sean, I did such a good job last week, went 2 for 2. I might be going 0 for 2 this week. I'm going for Firth. I'm going the opposite. I'm going to take Firth. They're coming off a dominant performance last week against New Plymouth. Firth is going to win. So Sean and I, we could both go 0-2 or 2-0. I said that wrong, but whatever. I'm going for Firth. Sean is going for West Side. Hey, if you disagree, tell us why. Hit us up in the comments below. That's exciting. Looking forward to both of those games. There's also some other great games already mentioned. I guess we already mentioned all of those.
Century Burley Century Burley Gate City game night. I'll be on the call for that one. Should be a pretty interesting game. I've talked to the coaches from Century. I also got to talk to Cameron Anderson of Burley a little bit too, and Century's got a game under their belt. Coach Anderson kind of talked about how they haven't played yet, so how do you knock the rust off and whatnot, and through discipline and execution is what he's hoping. So this could be a pretty good, interesting matchup. Interesting note, Century's getting turf installed right now. I think they're still working on it probably at this time of night. And that game will be played at Iron Horse, just for all the viewers out there. If you're, wondering where this game is taking place, it's going to happen at Iron Horse Friday night, 7:00 East Idaho game night. So yeah, tune into that one. I think that will be definitely, it'll be a fun. We get a little Magic Valley versus East Idaho, a fun non-conference game to start the season for the Bobcats, and the second game for Century.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And if you can't get out to Iron Horse Stadium, you can catch it on the Gate City game night on IdahoSports.com. Sean, and I believe Jesse Richens, right, is going to be on the call.
Yes. Jesse Richens will be there, and we'll have all the action. I love Iron Horse's setup in their press box and stuff. It's
awesome.
Great. It's a great field, great setting. So if you don't like football, I'll make sure to get the mountains in the background for you. So there you go.
Yeah, and you got some golf too, right? Right behind Iron Horse is that golf course as well. All right, Sean, we've gone way over our time, but guess what? We've had such a good time. We're going to finish off with this Rocky Mountain Rumble this weekend, folks, at the ICCU Dome. Was previously the Holt Arena. Now ICCU, thanks to them, they did a big renovation, and they put a lot of money into it, put their name on there. So now the ICCU Dome, all those games, 3A Morgan versus Skyline, 5A Skyline. Carson from Nevada is going to be playing Highland. Soldonta from, I think that's Alaska, is playing Teton. And then Wasatch from Utah is playing Rigby. Again, that was Morgan from Utah is playing Skyline. All those are going to be part of the IdahoSports.com games of the week. We're going to have cameras on the sideline. We got a producer. We have color. We got play-by-play. We got sideline reporting going on, all this at the ICCU Dome. So if you can't get out there to the game, be sure to go on IdahoSports.com and watch the games there. Again, Morgan from Utah coming out playing Skyline, Carson from Nevada, Carson High playing Highland, Soldonta from Alaska playing Teton, and Wasatch from Utah playing Rigby. Sean, of those games, which ones are you looking forward to watching?
Oh, I think they're all going to be pretty exciting. I think there's a couple that are kind of stand out to me. I'm pretty excited to see Shadow Ridge Mustangs versus Coeur d'Alene. You have a team from Vegas coming in playing Coeur d'Alene. You got kind of some South versus North there. And, I also think another good one will be the Morgan Trojans versus Skyline. Skyline hasn't played a game. Utah teams are already 2 games in. I think that's going to be kind of the interesting thing here. A lot of these other states have started much earlier than us and are a couple games into it. So you got some teams that have played 2 games, got some teams that haven't played any games. I mean, in football, that can be a huge difference. So that will be kind of the thing to watch out for, I think, going into Saturday, Super Saturday, as it would be at the ICCU Dome.
Yeah, and yeah, I only mentioned the East Idaho teams, but you're right. Obviously, other teams as well from across Idaho are going to be there. I'm very curious about that Skyline game, Sean. I think it might take a quarter or so. Skyline's well coached. Another team that is well coached, has great culture. But when you're coming in rusty, I think it's going to take a quarter. Hopefully, not that much, but to kind of get into rhythm. The good thing is, that might not happen because you got Carmine Garcia under center as a senior, and you got his buddy, the junior wide receiver, Zion Crockett, leading things. So I don't think it's going to take him that long to get to shake off the rust, but you want to be careful. Morgan's 2-0. They've blown out both their first games, and they're going to come in ready to play. So, but yeah, interested in that Skyline game. All right, Sean. Hey, we haven't covered a lot of cross country yet, but cross country is just kind of getting started. We have some big, some bigger events coming up in September, including the Tiger Grizz cross country meet. So we'll be covering more of that cross country in the coming weeks, especially as we get into September. But Sean, enjoy broadcasting Century Burley. I'll be on vacation in Utah and in Island Park. I'll miss all the fun times, but should be a really good weekend of sports, and really excited to see what our East Idaho teams do. Last bits before we sign off, Sean?
No, safe travels. I think if you're not gonna go to a game, definitely get on IdahoSports.com, hit the game stream. Friday through Saturday, we got you covered. There's a ton of fantastic matchups. Open 2 or 3 tabs and watch them. When I'm, I don't know when I'm not doing something on Friday during football season,
right?
But every once in a while, I'll open them all up and watch them, and that's kind of fun. It's kind of like being in a sports bar in your living room.
Yeah,
or
and
on your
cheaper.
computer. Yeah, absolutely. I got the store brand chips here, Joel. That's how we're rolling.
Store brand chips and Shasta.
Oh yeah, Dr. Thunder.
Dr. Thunder, totally. All right, that's going to do it for us. Enjoy all the competitions this weekend. For Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other, and we'll catch you next week on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.